My father was a pastor, and as the Lord would have it, I married a man whose father and grandfather were pastors. God does things funny in his own way. Been married 17 years, been at Greater Mount Calvary a little over 20, and have just been thankful to how God has moved in my life and kept me even when I was too silly to keep myself. The Lord knew I needed to just help her until she figured this stuff out.
Yeah, until she figures it out, yes.
Get this together. So, and I started teaching at Calvary Bible Institute a little over 10 years ago. I developed the course Survey of the Psalm, which is my favorite class.
Yes.
And it's so interesting. I started reading the Psalms because I broke my ankle in 2002, broke every bone, and was stuck in my room for 12 weeks. I didn't have anything else to do. So I started reading and discovered I could read the entire book of Psalms in a month. And I did that for several months because I couldn't go anywhere else.
Right.
And then God began to speak to me in the Word. And so he said, I want you to get a Bible that doesn't have notes because you tend to look at the notes and what someone else has said about me instead of you listening for me to tell you about me. And that's how I started. So I've been teaching at Calvary Bible Institute, and just a friend of mine many years ago when I got saved introduced me to the power of prayer. I remember the very first time I saw them pray, I thought, wow, I'm never going to be able to talk like that. Until the Lord said, it's not in how you speak, it's in what you say and the sincerity with which you say it. So God has been good. And now I teach others how to pray. I teach others the Word. I mentor young women in that area. And just am loving life, loving God, loving Jesus, loving my husband, and happy.
Good. Well, one of the things, and I love the book of Psalms as well. I took a Psalms class when I was in divinity school at Howard, and one of our assignments was to go through the Psalms and write down the verses that spoke to you, or to write down the verses that really meant something to you. And I remember going through that exercise, thinking, wow, this is really an exercise in futility. You mean really this is going to be our exam? And the strangest thing, at the end of that exercise, it was so powerful. And Dr. Gene Rice, anybody that knows me knows I love him. Dr. Gene Rice taught at Howard for over 50 years.
Wow.
And he gave us these books back. And so today, I still have that book, and I can go to it as a resource to open the book to those particular Psalms that I liked at that time. And I know you'll talk a little bit about that, because you can have a scripture that speaks to you depending upon what's going on in that season and at that time. And then, you'll pick it up and it's something else that's going on. But one of the things I really wanted to focus on during our time together is for you to encourage the people who may be on the cusp of, I want to study, but every time I seem to study, I fall asleep, or I don't know how to study. What should they do in preliminary stages to begin their study time?
The first thing I tell people always, when you start to studying, don't make it real deep and spooky. Just find one or two scriptures that you like. And then do what they taught us to do in the elementary school, the 5 W's. Who is speaking? To whom are they speaking? The what? What are the instructions? Why? The who, what, when, where, how, and why. You can do that. How are they to do whatever to do? What happens if they do it or if they don't do it? And so when you do it that way, you learn then, as I always say, observation. What does the word say? We look at it. This is what it says. Interpretation. What does it mean? And then once you have properly interpreted what it means, then you can apply it. Application. For instance, when we look at the word love, we see it in the Bible, but it has several meanings. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. It's not the same love that Solomon speaks of when he talks about the woman and the pomegranates and such. So while both words are love, observation, interpretation, what kind of love? Is it agape love? Is it eros, where, oh, I love you, you're my heart? Is it philios? Are you just my friend? So then once you know which love, you can apply that to your life. And so it makes it a little easier that way, because you don't have to be a theologian to really dissect and understand the word. And I tell people the easiest book to start really is the Psalms. You know, and if you're going to be in the New Testament, read John or Galatians. Don't start with Revelation.
Right.
Don't start there.
Don't start there.
Don't start there, because it's not going to be good for you. And so that's really observation. What does it say? Interpretation. What does it mean? Application. How do I apply this ancient text to my life today? How do I learn to love agape unconditionally? How do, if you're married, or how do I learn to have that kind of love that Solomon spoke of for my husband or my wife? Or friend, how do I learn to love in a friendly manner where I don't cross that line? Filios. So yeah, if you do it that way, it becomes easier and it's not such a daunting task. Now, if you don't want to go to sleep, don't study in the bed.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Because you know if you study in the bed, you're going to do this. Your head's going to nod. So don't study in the bed. Pick a time or day. Don't try to carve out a whole hour if you're just starting, because that's too much. Give 5 or 10 minutes. God, I'm going to work on this one scripture. What does the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want mean? What does that really mean?